They crossed humanity's red line. What followed was relentless. The galaxy had always thought of humans as quiet, peaceful, and careful. They built colonies, traded with others, and did not fight unless it was needed. Many alien species saw them as weak. They thought humans would never fight back if provoked. That belief would soon be proven wrong. Ethan Walker had been a captain in the human fleet for 10 years. He had seen many parts of space and met countless alien species. Some were friendly, others dangerous, but humans had always tried to avoid unnecessary conflict. Now, as he stood on the bridge of his small reconnaissance ship, he felt a cold knot in his stomach. Something bad was happening near the Varlan's colonies at the edge of human space. The Varlans were a strange species with tall, thin bodies and long, clawed fingers. They had advanced technology, but their leaders were greedy and cruel. Some Varlans wanted to expand their control into human space, taking resources and people without thinking about the cost. A group of Varlan's raiders had begun attacking human outposts. They thought the humans were too soft to fight back. Ethan looked at the holographic map floating in front of him. Red dots marked the attacks. Small human settlements had been hit, and some were completely destroyed. Supplies stolen, workers taken, buildings burned. The reports from the field were horrifying. His hands tightened on the rail. "Lily Hart," he said quietly. "She was at Outpost Gamma. Did she make it out?" His communications officer, a young woman named Sarah Fields, shook her head. "No, sir. The outpost was destroyed. Lily didn't survive." Ethan closed his eyes. Lily had been one of the best engineers in human space. She was young, but she had brilliant ideas for defensive technology. She had been working on a shield prototype that could protect human settlements from attacks. Now that hope was gone. "We can't just watch them do this," Ethan said. His voice was low but steady. "We need to respond. We cannot let this continue." The ship hummed as it moved closer to the site of the attack. Sensors showed that the Varlan's raiders were still in the area, hunting for survivors. Their ships were fast, sleek, and built for violence. Ethan knew he and his small team were at a serious disadvantage, but he also knew something the Varlans did not. Humans never gave up. As the reconnaissance ship approached, Ethan saw the destruction clearly. Crashed ships floated among the debris, and broken buildings lay in ruin on the planet's surface. Fires burned in multiple places. Small groups of Varlan soldiers moved quickly, carrying captured humans back to their ships. The air smelled metallic and hot even through the sensors. Ethan clenched his fists. "We're going in," he said. Sarah shook her head. "Captain, there are too many of them. We can't fight all at once." "I know," Ethan replied. "But we can't leave them here to do whatever they want. We have to save who we can." The human ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel and entered the system. From orbit, they could see the Varlan's raiders moving in groups, herding humans and loading stolen supplies onto their ships. Ethan studied the movements, looking for a weakness. He noticed that the Varlans were confident, almost careless. They thought no one would challenge them. That was the mistake they had made. "Target the cargo ships first," Ethan ordered. "We disable their supplies, force them to stop and regroup." Sarah's fingers moved quickly over the controls. "Weapons ready," she said. "Shields up." The first shots were quiet but precise. Human weapons had been designed for accuracy, not brute force. Beams of energy cut through the Varlan ships, damaging engines and navigation systems. The raiders panicked. For the first time, they were not in control. Ethan smiled slightly. "Keep it up," he said. "Make them pay attention to us, not the humans they captured." The humans on the planet below looked up as flashes of light cut across the sky. Some screamed, some ran for cover, but many simply stared in disbelief. Humans fighting back. Humans they thought were weak, daring to challenge the Varlans. Among the survivors was a young girl named Mia Sanders. She had seen her parents taken by the Varlans earlier that day. She hid in a small cave as the human ship attacked the raiders. Her eyes were wide with fear, but when she saw the humans fighting back, something inside her changed. Hope. Back on the ship, Ethan's second-in-command, Jason Cole, monitored the communications. "Sir, the Varlans are retreating," he said. "They're confused and scared." "We've disabled 3 of their ships." Ethan nodded. "Good, but we're not done. We need to make sure they know they crossed a line." He thought about Lily Hart. She had died because the Varlans thought humans would do nothing. That mistake would cost them more than they could imagine. Humans did not forgive easily. Humans did not forget. As the ship moved to intercept the last of the raider group, Ethan remembered the warning sent to the Varlans' leaders. Humanity had tried to avoid this. They had sent messages, communicated through the Galactic Council, and made it clear that attacks on human settlements would not be tolerated. The Varlans had ignored all warnings. They had crossed the red line. Ethan felt a cold determination in his chest. He thought of the entire human race, of all the people who had trusted him and his team to protect them. He would not fail. "Prepare boarding teams," he said. "We are going to take back what is ours." The boarding shuttles launched from the ship. Humans in light, flexible armor moved quickly and silently toward the Varlan ships. Ethan led one team himself, moving with careful precision. He did not want unnecessary bloodshed, but he would not hesitate to fight if needed. Inside the raider ships, chaos reigned. Varlan soldiers had never seen humans fight this way. They were fast, coordinated, and fearless. Ethan's team moved through corridors, disabling weapons and freeing prisoners. Human prisoners looked at them with wide eyes, unable to believe they were being saved. Lily Hart's shield prototype, though unfinished, had been taken from the destroyed outpost. Ethan had it with him, hoping it could still be used. The device emitted a low hum, projecting a protective field around the human team as they moved. It saved many lives that day. By the time the battle ended, the humans had rescued dozens of prisoners and damaged much of the Varlans' raiding fleet. The aliens fled, but not without learning a lesson. The humans they thought were weak could fight, and they would fight with everything they had. Back on the ship, Ethan looked at the rescued humans, their faces tired but relieved. Mia Sanders was among them, hugging an older woman who had been hiding with her. Ethan felt a mix of pride and sorrow. The humans had survived, but the cost had been high. Many had died, including brave soldiers and engineers like Lily Hart. Sarah approached Ethan quietly. "They will remember this," she said. "The galaxy will see that humans will not be crossed." Ethan nodded. "Yes," he said, "and they will remember the red line. No one will dare test us again." He looked out at the stars, thinking of the many worlds humans still protected. He knew this was only the beginning. The Varlans had made a mistake, one they would never live down. Humans were no longer a quiet, passive species in the galaxy. They were relentless when provoked, and their resolve was absolute. The human ship moved toward home, carrying the rescued survivors. Silence filled the bridge, not the quiet of fear, but the calm after a storm. Ethan knew that humanity's patience had a limit, and that limit had just been reached. In the coming days, messages would spread across the galaxy. Humans had drawn their line, and those who had crossed it had faced the consequences. The galaxy would learn a simple truth: humans protect their own, and those who harm them do so at their own risk. As the ship jumped back into faster-than-light travel, Ethan Walker finally allowed himself a moment of reflection. The loss of Lily Hart and the other brave humans was heavy on his heart, but their deaths had not been in vain. Humanity had shown its strength. Humanity had shown its determination. And humanity had shown that the red line was not a suggestion, it was a warning. The stars ahead looked endless, but for the first time in years, Ethan felt hope. The humans he fought for were alive. Their spirit was unbroken, and the galaxy would never forget what happened here today. After the battle at the Varlan's raider outpost, humanity did not celebrate. The victory had been important, but it had cost lives. Ethan Walker stood on the bridge of the human fleet's command ship, looking at the reports from the rescued colonists and the damage they had inflicted on the enemy. Every detail mattered. Every mistake had been noted. Every success had been analyzed. Humanity could not afford to rely on luck. Admiral Laura Bennett joined him, her steps steady and confident. She had commanded the larger human fleet for many years and had faced countless crises. Her eyes were sharp, and her mind was sharper. "Ethan," she said, "the Varlans will recover from this. They always do. If we only fight small battles, we will never stop them. We need a plan that makes them think twice before ever attacking humans again." Ethan nodded. "I know, Admiral. We hit them hard, but they still think they can push us. They don't understand what humans are capable of." "That is about to change," Laura said. "We need to show them that humans do not forgive easily, that they do not forget. We prepare carefully, strike smartly, and make sure the message is clear. No one crosses our red line twice." Meanwhile, Jason Cole, the intelligence officer, worked on the Varlans' data they had captured. He examined intercepted communications, fleet movements, and supply routes. "Sir," he said to Ethan, "they think they can hide in the outer sectors. They believe humans will not follow them there. They underestimate us just like before." Ethan's jaw tightened. "They think wrong. Prepare the plans for long-range tracking. I want to know where every ship goes, what they carry, and who commands them. No detail is too small. If they move, we move faster." The fleet spent days organizing and preparing. Engineers worked to improve existing ships, adding better shields, energy weapons, and faster engines. Scientists tested new combat drones that could operate independently in battle. Every human knew the stakes. The Varlans had crossed the red line, and now humans would make them understand that such actions had consequences. On Earth, the news of the Varlans' raid and the human retaliation spread quickly. People were afraid at first, knowing the violence had reached human colonies. But soon, pride replaced fear. Humans had shown courage and strength. They had saved their people and sent a clear warning to the galaxy. Humans had a red line, and it could not be crossed. Ethan spent hours reviewing strategies with Laura and Jason. They studied the Varlans' weaknesses, noting their overconfidence and poor coordination. The humans were not stronger in numbers, but they were smarter, more resourceful, and more determined. That was the advantage they would use. A week later, the fleet gathered near the edge of human space. Ships of all sizes moved in formation, their sleek hulls shining against the black of space. Pilots, engineers, soldiers, and scientists worked together, each knowing their role. Humans had learned long ago that survival depended on cooperation. Every hand counted. Laura addressed the fleet through the communication system. Her voice was calm but firm. "We have been patient. We have tried to avoid unnecessary war. But the Varlans have crossed our red line. We will not stop until they understand the cost of attacking humanity. Strike with precision. Protect your fellow humans. And remember, we fight not for revenge, but to defend our people and our homes." Ethan led a small task force within the fleet. His mission was to target the Varlans' key supply lines. If humans could cut off their resources, the enemy would be forced to retreat or surrender. The plan required careful timing and exact coordination. There was no room for error. As they traveled through space, Ethan thought about the people who had suffered in the previous attack. Lily Hart, the young engineer, had died because the Varlans believed humans would not act. Her death haunted him, but it also strengthened his resolve. Humans would not be victims. They would protect their own. The first targets appeared on the sensors, a group of Varlans transport ships carrying supplies and weapons to reinforce the raiders. Ethan ordered the fleet to approach quietly, using advanced cloaking technology to remain hidden. They would strike without warning. Sarah Fields, monitoring the fleet, said, "Sir, we are in position. Targets are within range." Ethan nodded. "Hold until I give the order." "We hit them together. No mistakes. Moments later, the fleet fired. Energy beams streaked through space, hitting the transport ships with deadly precision. Engines exploded and supplies were scattered across the void. The Varlin's crews panicked, unsure where the attack had come from. Human ships moved with speed and accuracy, disabling enemy weapons and communication systems. Jason watched the data feed and smiled. They didn't expect this. They thought humans would fight only defensively. Now they see we can strike anywhere. Ethan's team boarded one of the damaged transport ships to recover prisoners and secure intelligence. The humans moved with quiet efficiency, freeing the captured workers and disabling any remaining enemy systems. Many of the rescued humans looked at Ethan and his team with wide eyes, unable to believe they were saved. Among the freed was a young man named Daniel Price. He had been forced to work on building weapons for the Varlins. He looked at Ethan and said, "We thought no one would come. We thought we were lost." Ethan placed a hand on his shoulder. "Humans never give up. We protect our own. You're safe now." The fleet continued their campaign, targeting supply routes and small outposts. Each successful strike weakened the Varlins' control and spread fear among their leaders. The humans did not seek unnecessary bloodshed, but they were relentless. They had a purpose, and every action served it. Meanwhile, the Varlins' leadership grew worried. They could not understand how humans had learned their movements so quickly. They had believed humans were weak, that they would never risk lives in open conflict. Their overconfidence had been their greatest mistake. In one meeting, the Varlins' commander said angrily, "These humans are not like others. They fight with intelligence, with strategy, and with courage. They will not stop. We must retreat, regroup, or we will lose everything." But it was too late. Humans had already begun the next phase of their plan. Ethan and Laura had identified the locations of the main Varlins fleets and were preparing a coordinated strike. This would not just be defense, it would be a demonstration of human strength and determination. Back on the human command ship, Ethan studied the maps of the Varlins fleets. He knew they would attempt to counterattack. They always did, but the humans were ready. Shields had been reinforced, weapons upgraded, and boarding teams prepared. Every human knew the risks, but every human also knew the importance of standing together. Sarah Fields reported, "Sir, preliminary scans show they are moving to protect their main bases. We can intercept and force them to engage on our terms." Ethan nodded. "Good. Prepare the fleet for jump. We strike where they are weakest. No hesitation." As the human fleet jumped to the Varlin sector, tension filled the air. Every officer, every soldier, and every pilot understood the stakes. Humanity had drawn a line. Those who crossed it faced consequences. The galaxy would soon see the true power of human resolve. Ethan walked the corridors of the ship, watching his team prepare. Soldiers checked weapons, engineers tested shields, pilots went over navigation routes. Each human moved with focus, calm determination, and purpose. They knew this was more than a battle. It was a message. It was a warning. It was the beginning of a new chapter for humanity in the galaxy. When the fleet arrived in the Varlin sector, the humans found the enemy divided and unprepared. The Varlins had not expected such a coordinated response. The humans struck quickly, disabling fleets and freeing more prisoners. Each action was precise, showing strategy, discipline, and care for human lives. In the middle of the campaign, Ethan took a moment to reflect. The galaxy had underestimated humans for too long. They thought patience was weakness. They thought compassion was a flaw. They were wrong. Humans fought for something greater than conquest or greed. They fought for their own, for their homes, and for the promise that no one could cross their line without facing consequences. The Varlins began to retreat, their forces scattered and confused. Humanity had shown them the cost of crossing the red line. The humans had not been reckless, but they had been relentless. They had proven that when provoked, they could strike anywhere, at any time, and with deadly precision. Ethan watched the enemy ships retreating into the distance. He knew this was not the end. There would be more battles, more challenges, and more dangers, but humanity had sent its message. They had shown that patience had limits, that mercy was not weakness, that humans could be terrifying when their people were threatened. He returned to the bridge, looking at the stars ahead. The humans were strong, united, and ready. The galaxy had seen the first real demonstration of their power. And now, the humans were preparing for the next phase. A larger, more decisive strike that would ensure the Varlans never dared to challenge them again. For the first time in years, Ethan felt a quiet satisfaction. Humanity was no longer underestimated. Humanity was no longer passive. They had begun to shape the galaxy in their own way. And the Varlans, like everyone else, would soon learn that crossing humanity's red line was a mistake they could never afford to repeat. The Varlans had no idea what was coming. They thought the humans would attack only when necessary and in small numbers. They thought humans lacked the courage to strike directly at their fleets. They were wrong. Ethan Walker stood on the bridge of the human fleet's command ship, looking at the approaching enemy vessels. They were more ships than the humans had faced before, but Ethan felt no fear. He knew the humans had strategy, teamwork, and determination. That was more powerful than any number of ships. Admiral Laura Bennett moved beside him. "We cannot let them escape," she said. "If we do, they will rebuild and attack again. We strike now and we strike hard." Jason Cole, the intelligence officer, pointed at the screen. "Sir, their formation is uneven. Their left wing is weaker. If we target it first, we can break their line and force them into confusion." Ethan nodded. "That is our plan. Signal the fleet. Every ship knows its role." Across the fleet, humans prepared for the attack. Pilots checked weapons, engineers tested shields, and soldiers went over boarding procedures. Everyone understood the importance of this mission. The Varlans had crossed humanity's red line. Humanity would not forget, and humanity would not forgive. The first strike came without warning. Human ships moved like shadows, appearing from multiple directions. Energy beams cut through space, striking the Varlans' ships with deadly accuracy. Explosions lit up the darkness as enemy engines failed. Weapon systems went offline and ships began to drift. Ethan led a squadron toward the weakened left wing. Human pilots moved with precision, firing in coordination, blocking escape routes, and disabling critical systems. The Varlans were shocked. They had not expected humans to attack so boldly, so efficiently. Their confidence faltered. Sarah Fields monitored communications from the command ship. "Sir, they are confused. Their left wing is collapsing." "Good," Ethan said. "Keep pressure on them. Do not let them recover." On one of the disabled Varlan ships, human boarding teams moved in. They freed prisoners, disabled weapons, and collected intelligence. Many of the freed humans had been working as forced labor, building weapons for the Varlans. Their faces were pale, their bodies weak, but their eyes shone with hope as they saw the humans who had come to save them. Among them was a young woman named Clara Jenkins. She had been captured weeks earlier and forced to work in a weapons factory. She looked at Ethan and whispered, "I thought no one would come." Ethan smiled gently. "Humans always come," he said. "We protect our own." The battle raged across space. Human ships moved in coordinated patterns, using strategy and timing instead of brute force. Their weapons were precise, their shields strong, and their pilots fearless. Every move was calculated, every attack deliberate. The Varlans, though more numerous, struggled to adapt. Admiral Bennett oversaw the larger battle from the command ship. She directed squadrons, monitored the flow of energy in the shields, and ensured that human ships maintained their formation. Her calm voice guided the fleet, her decisions saving lives and maximizing damage to the enemy. In the middle of the chaos, Ethan noticed a group of Varlans attempting to flee with stolen supplies. He immediately directed a squadron to intercept them. Human ships blocked their path, forcing them into a trap. Energy beams struck their engines, leaving them drifting helplessly in space. Jason Cole monitored the enemy fleet and reported, "Sir, their main forces are starting to scatter. They do not know where to regroup." "Exactly what we want," Ethan said. "Do not give them a chance to recover." Back on the planets they had raided, human forces continued to free prisoners. Small groups of soldiers moved carefully, clearing buildings and securing areas. Each rescued human was given immediate medical attention and returned to safety. Humanity fought not just for victory but for the lives of those who had suffered at the hands of the Varlans. One of the rescued humans, a young boy named Leo Daniels, had witnessed his family being captured. He had hidden in a storage room, too scared to move. Now, as he stepped onto the human ship, he looked around with wide eyes. Ethan knelt beside him. "You're safe now," he said. "No one will hurt you again." Leo nodded, tears in his eyes. "I thought we were alone," he whispered. "You are never alone," Ethan replied. "Humans stick together. We protect our own." Meanwhile, the human fleet continued to press the attack. The Varlans, now fully aware that they were outmatched, tried to regroup. Their ships moved chaotically, failing to form a proper defense. Humans exploited every mistake, cutting off escape routes, disabling engines, and neutralizing weapons. During the battle, Ethan led a boarding team onto the Varlan's flagship. The interior was dark, metallic, and filled with smoke. The enemy soldiers were ready, but they had not expected humans to enter so boldly. Ethan's team moved with efficiency, disabling weapon controls, freeing prisoners, and sabotaging critical systems. One Varlan's officer sneered at Ethan. "You think you can win? Humans are weak." "You will die here." Ethan looked at him calmly. "Humans are stronger than you think," he said. "We fight for each other. That makes us unstoppable." The officer hesitated, then lunged. Ethan was ready. The fight was quick. Ethan and his team subdued the officer without unnecessary harm. Every human knew the value of life, even in war, but they also knew the cost of protecting their own. As the flagship fell under human control, Ethan activated its communication system. He broadcast a message across the Varlan's fleet. "You have crossed humanity's red line. Stop your attacks. Leave human space. Surrender to protect your people. Humans do not forgive easily. We fight for our own. Remember this day." The Varlan's ship stopped in confusion. Some tried to continue fighting, but many were already damaged. Fear spread quickly among their ranks. They had underestimated humans, and now they understood the consequences. Back on the human command ship, Admiral Bennett monitored the response. "They are retreating," she said. "The fleet is breaking. Our message is clear." Ethan nodded. "This is only the beginning. They will never dare attack human colonies again." Even as the humans pursued the retreating fleet, they remained disciplined. They did not destroy ships unnecessarily. They focused on protecting their people and sending a clear message. Every strike was precise, every move calculated. Humans were not reckless, but they were relentless. The rescued humans were brought aboard support ships. Medical teams worked quickly, tending to injuries and giving food and water to those who had been starved. Children who had been terrified for weeks began to smile again. Families were reunited. Humanity had not only struck a blow to the enemy but had also saved its own. Among the rescued was Mia Sanders, the young girl who had hidden during the first attack. She had seen humans fight and survive, and now she understood something new about them. Humans were strong, not just in weapons or technology, but in heart. They protected what mattered most. As the battle ended, Ethan walked across the command ship, watching the fleet regroup. Human ships glowed softly against the darkness of space, a reminder that even in the vast emptiness, humans could shine with courage and determination. Jason Cole approached Ethan with a report. "Sir, we have captured enough intelligence to predict their next moves. They will not attempt another attack soon. They have learned what it means to cross humanity's red line." Ethan nodded. "Good. but we cannot let our guard down. The galaxy is large and other species may still test us. We prepare, we remain vigilant, and we protect our own. Laura Bennett joined him again. You did well today, Ethan. The fleet did well. Humanity has shown strength, courage, and precision. The Varlans will think twice before attacking again. Ethan looked at her and then at the stars. This is just the beginning, he said. We fight for more than victory. We fight for humanity, for our homes, for every person who cannot defend themselves. That is our strength. That is what makes humans unstoppable. The fleet began the journey back to human space. The rescued humans looked out at the stars, filled with hope and gratitude. Children laughed for the first time in weeks, families embraced, and the human spirit burned brighter than ever. In the coming weeks, the story of the battle spread across human space. Colonies celebrated the courage and skill of the fleet. Humans who had been underestimated by the galaxy were now respected and feared. They had drawn a line, and they had enforced it with unmatched determination. Ethan stood on the bridge, looking at the stars ahead. He thought of Lily Hart and the others who had died in the earlier attacks. Their memory fueled his resolve. Humanity would continue to grow stronger, not for revenge, but to ensure that no one could threaten them without facing consequences. As the human fleet moved toward home, the galaxy learned a lesson it would not forget. Humans were patient but not weak. They were careful but not timid. They fought for what mattered most, and when provoked, they could be relentless. Ethan Walker knew that the fight was not over. There would be more challenges, more threats, and more enemies. But humanity had begun to show its true power. And the message was clear. Cross the red line, and you will face the full force of human resolve. The stars stretched endlessly before them, but Ethan felt hope. Humanity had taken its first great step in proving that it could protect its own, that it could strike with precision, and that it could never be underestimated again. The Varlans had retreated, but they were far from defeated. Their leaders gathered on their homeworld, shouting orders and blaming each other for the failure. Their fleets were damaged, supplies destroyed, and their soldiers shaken. Yet in their arrogance, they believed that humans could be outmaneuvered if they regrouped carefully. Captain Ethan Walker watched from the command ship as reports came in from scouts. The Varlans were moving toward a resource-rich asteroid belt, likely to repair and refuel their remaining ships. It was a dangerous area, with shifting asteroid fields and unstable gravity pockets, but it could also be used against them. Ethan saw an opportunity. Admiral Laura Bennett joined him on the bridge. We cannot let them regain strength, she said. If they recover, they will attack again. This is the moment to make a decisive move. Jason Cole pointed to the screen. Sir, if we position the fleet carefully, we can force them into the asteroid field. Their ships are not built for maneuvering in tight spaces. We could trap them completely. Ethan nodded. Good, prepare the fleet. We strike with precision. Every ship must follow the plan exactly. The fleet moved silently through space, staying out of sensor range. Human pilots understood the danger. The Varlans would fight fiercely if they sensed a trap. The humans had learned to rely on strategy, technology, and teamwork, but caution was always necessary. As they neared the asteroid belt, Ethan spoke to his squadron. This is not just about destroying ships. It is about showing the Varlans that humanity cannot be challenged. We protect our own, and we strike without mercy when provoked. Stay sharp. Watch each other. Trust each other. The first phase began with the fleet moving into hidden positions behind large asteroids. Energy sensors and shields allowed them to stay unseen. Ethan's heart beat steadily as he watched the Varlans approach, confident and unaware of the trap ahead. The humans struck suddenly. Energy beams cut through the darkness, targeting key engines and weapons on the Varlan ships. Explosions echoed across the asteroid belt as enemy vessels spun out of control, colliding with rocks or drifting helplessly. The Varlans were caught completely off guard. Sarah Fields monitored the battle. Sir, their left wing is breaking. They're trying to regroup, but the asteroids are in their way. Good, Ethan said. Push forward carefully. Watch for traps. Human ships moved in precise formations, guiding the Varlans into tighter spaces. Automated drones followed, disabling engines and navigation systems without risking human lives. The Varlans realized too late that they had been outsmarted. Their confidence turned to panic. On the ground of a nearby planet, human soldiers prepared to intercept any survivors who might attempt to escape the asteroid field. The humans had planned for every possibility. Every move of the Varlans had been predicted and countered. Humanity's intelligence and strategy were unmatched. Inside one of the damaged Varlan ships, Ethan led a boarding team. The corridor was dark and filled with smoke from damaged engines. Varlan's soldiers tried to fight back, but the humans were fast and coordinated. Every strike was measured, every move deliberate. They disabled weapons, freed prisoners, and sabotaged the ship systems. One Varlan's officer growled, "Humans are strong, but this is only a battle. We will regroup and destroy you." Ethan looked him in the eye. "You have already lost. You underestimated humans. You crossed our red line. That was your mistake." The officer hesitated, then fled down a corridor, realizing that resistance was futile. Meanwhile, the rest of the fleet continued to strike. Human ships moved in groups, coordinating attacks that disabled engines, shields, and weapons across the Varlan's fleet. The asteroid field, once dangerous, became an advantage. Varlan's ships collided with asteroids, were trapped, or drifted helplessly as humans pressed the attack. Admiral Bennett monitored the situation. "They are trapped. We can end this now if we move carefully. Do not destroy unnecessarily, but make the consequences clear." Humanity protects its own. Ethan gave the order to advance. Energy beams cut through the last operational Varlan ships, and boarding teams disabled them completely. Humans freed more prisoners, many of whom had been working in harsh conditions, forced to build weapons and supplies. They were weak, frightened, and grateful. Among the rescued was a young man named Henry Lewis. He had hidden in a storage room for days, surviving on scraps. As Ethan helped him onto a human shuttle, he whispered, "I thought humans would never come. I thought we were lost." Ethan smiled. "We always come. We fight for each other. That is what makes humans strong." Jason Cole reported, "Sir, their main fleet is incapacitated. They cannot fight. The Varlans are completely trapped in the asteroid belt." Ethan nodded. "Good. Maintain the blockade. Let them understand that their actions have consequences. They crossed our red line, and this is the cost." The Varlan's leadership tried to communicate with their remaining forces. "Fall back. Escape the asteroid belt. Humanity is too strong." But the humans had anticipated this. Automated drones monitored escape routes, blocking any attempt to flee. Every Varlan ship that moved was tracked and neutralized. Humans fought not just with weapons, but with intelligence, planning, and careful strategy. On one of the captured ships, Ethan activated a communication system. He addressed the trapped Varlan's fleet. "You have crossed humanity's red line. Stop your attacks. Leave human space. Surrender if you value your people. Humans are patient, but we are relentless. Do not test us again." The Varlans paused, fear in their eyes. They had underestimated humans, and now they understood the full power of human resolve. Every ship trapped in the asteroid field was a lesson. Every disabled engine, every captured soldier was a warning. Humanity had made its point. Back on the human command ship, Ethan looked at the fleet. The humans had not fought recklessly. They had not destroyed unnecessarily, but they had been precise, disciplined, and merciless when needed. Humanity had shown that crossing the red line came at a price no enemy could afford. Among the rescued humans were children, families, and workers who had suffered at the hands of the Varlans. Doctors and medical teams worked quickly, tending to injuries and giving food and water. Humanity fought not just for victory, but to save its own. Every life mattered. Mia Sanders, the young girl who had survived previous attacks, looked around at the humans saving others. She realized something she had not before. Humans were strong not only because of their weapons, but because of their heart. They protected each other, no matter the cost. Ethan spoke with his officers, planning the next steps. We cannot let them recover. We must maintain pressure, monitor every movement, and ensure they understand that no attack on humans will be tolerated. Admiral Bennett nodded. The galaxy is watching. We show not just strength, but intelligence, discipline, and care for our own. That is why humans are respected and feared. As the human fleet moved out of the asteroid belt, the trapped Varlans were left with no choice but to retreat to distant systems. Their leaders had learned a harsh lesson. They had underestimated humans, and that mistake had cost them dearly. Ethan looked at the stars ahead, thinking about the future. The galaxy was vast, and other species might still challenge humans. But humanity had proven something important. They could fight with strategy, courage, and determination. They could protect their own and strike decisively when necessary. Jason Cole reported, "Sir, intelligence suggests that the Varlans are sending messages to other species. They are warning them about humans." Ethan smiled slightly. "Good, let them warn others. Let them know the cost of crossing humanity's red line." Back on Earth, news of the victory spread quickly. Humans were proud, not just of the battle won, but of the lives saved and the discipline shown. Colonies celebrated the courage of the fleet, the ingenuity of scientists, and the bravery of soldiers. Humanity had earned respect across the galaxy. Ethan walked across the command ship, looking at the crew. Soldiers, engineers, and pilots moved efficiently, checking systems, repairing damage, and preparing for the next mission. Each human understood their role, their responsibility, and the importance of protecting their people. Mia Sanders watched from a viewing deck. She had survived 2 attacks now and had seen humans fight for each other. She whispered to herself, "Humans are unstoppable. They will never let anyone hurt us again." Ethan joined her quietly. "We fight for our own," he said. "That is what makes us strong. That is what makes us human." She nodded, understanding in her young eyes. Humans were not just survivors. They were protectors, strategists, and warriors when needed. Their strength was not only in weapons, but in heart and courage. As the fleet returned toward human space, Ethan thought about the journey so far. The Varlans had challenged humanity, crossed the red line, and believed they could continue without consequence. They had been wrong. Humanity had responded with precision, strategy, and courage. They had freed their people, disabled the enemy, and sent a message the galaxy would never forget. Admiral Bennett approached him. "The galaxy will remember this day," she said. "Humans cannot be underestimated." Ethan nodded. "Yes. We show strength, but we also show care for our own. That is what makes us different. That is what makes humans unstoppable." The stars stretched endlessly before them, but for the first time in many months, Ethan felt hope. Humanity had faced its enemy, fought with courage and intelligence, and emerged stronger. The Varlans had learned a lesson they would not forget. The galaxy had learned a lesson it would not forget. Humanity's red line had been crossed. Humanity had responded. And now the galaxy knew. Humans fight for their own, and when provoked, they are relentless. The Varlans' retreat had left a quiet in space that felt almost strange. After the battle in the asteroid belt, the human fleet moved slowly, carefully checking for stragglers. Every ship, every crew member knew the importance of this mission. Humanity had shown its strength, but the work was not over. Every life mattered, and every corner of the galaxy needed to see the consequences of crossing humanity's red line. Captain Ethan Walker stood on the bridge, watching the stars pass by. He thought about everything that had happened, the raids, the deaths, the battles, and the victories. Humanity had been pushed to its limit, but they had not broken. They had fought for their own, and they had won. He felt pride, but also a weight of responsibility. This was only the beginning of a new chapter for humans in the galaxy. Admiral Laura Bennett approached him. "We did what needed to be done," she said quietly. "But the galaxy is watching. Other species will now know that humans cannot be underestimated. They will respect us. Some may even fear us." Ethan nodded. "Fear is not what we want," he said. "Respect and caution. They need to understand that humans protect their own. We are patient, but we are relentless when our people are threatened. That is the message they must take away." Meanwhile, Jason Cole monitored incoming communications. Messages from other species flooded in, some curious, some fearful, and some even apologetic. Many had underestimated humans for centuries, believing that their compassion meant weakness. Now they knew differently. On one of the shuttles, Mia Sanders looked at Ethan. She had survived multiple attacks and had seen humans fight for each other. "Humans are different," she said quietly. "We care about each other, but we can be unstoppable." Ethan smiled gently. "That is what makes us strong," he said. "It is not just weapons or ships. It is heart, courage, and determination. Humans fight for what matters most. That is why no one should ever cross our red line." Back on the planets where humans had been rescued, rebuilding began immediately. Colonists worked together to repair homes, clean streets, and recover from the trauma of the Varlan's attacks. Soldiers stayed to protect the population, but they also helped rebuild, showing that humans did not just fight, they cared for their own. Among the rescued was Henry Lewis, the young man who had hidden in a storage room for days. He now worked with engineers to repair damaged equipment. "I never thought I would survive," he said. "But humans saved us all. I will never forget this." Clara Jenkins, the young woman who had been forced to work in a weapons factory, now trained others in safety and engineering. She looked at Ethan and said, "You gave us hope. You showed us that humans fight for each other, no matter what." Ethan felt a quiet satisfaction. Humanity had not only defeated the Varlans in battle but had also saved its people, strengthened its colonies, and sent a warning that would echo across the galaxy. Admiral Bennett convened a council with fleet leaders. "We must ensure this peace lasts," she said. "The Varlans will rebuild, but they will not attack without thinking. Our fleets must stay vigilant. We prepare, we protect, and we show the galaxy that humans do not forgive aggression lightly." Ethan listened carefully. "Agreed. We cannot be reckless, but we also cannot appear weak. Humans must always protect their own. That is our strength and that is our message." As the fleet returned to human space, celebrations began quietly. Colonies that had been threatened now felt safe. The rescued humans shared stories of bravery, hope, and survival. Families reunited. Children smiled after weeks of fear. The galaxy had seen that humanity could fight, protect, and win, but it had also seen that humans valued life and loyalty above all else. Jason Cole reported, "Sir, our intelligence suggests that the Varlans are sending messages to other species. They are warning them about humans. They have learned respect and they will caution others." Ethan nodded. "Let them warn others. Let every species know what happens when they cross humanity's red line." Meanwhile, on Earth, news of the battles reached the population. People celebrated, not with reckless joy but with pride and relief. Humans had defended themselves, their colonies, and their people. They had shown strength, intelligence, and compassion. Humanity had changed the galaxy's perception forever. Mia Sanders watched the celebrations from a safe observation point. She whispered, "Humans will never let anyone hurt us again. We are strong and we fight for each other." Ethan overheard her and smiled. "Exactly. That is what makes us different. That is why the galaxy will never forget humanity." The Varlans, now scattered and cautious, began rebuilding in distant systems. They had learned a lesson that would not be forgotten. No attack on humans would ever go unpunished again. They had underestimated humans, patience, courage, and determination. That mistake would shape their actions for generations. On one of the human ships, Ethan walked among his crew. Soldiers, engineers, pilots, and medical teams moved quietly but efficiently. Everyone had played a role in the victories, and everyone understood the importance of protecting humans. They had fought with courage, worked with precision, and cared for those who could not defend themselves. Clara Jenkins approached Ethan with a question. "Captain, will the Varlins come back?" Ethan looked at her seriously. "Perhaps, but if they do, they will know the cost. Humans fight for their own, and we do not give up. They will think twice before ever crossing our red line again." Admiral Bennett added, "And even if they return, humanity will be ready. We are stronger, smarter, and united. We fight for each other, and that is what makes us unstoppable." Back on one of the recovered colonies, families gathered in the streets. Children ran and laughed for the first time in weeks. Parents hugged each other tightly. Humans who had survived the attacks told stories of bravery, courage, and hope. The people understood that humanity had fought not just for victory, but for the survival of their own. Mia Sanders held the hand of her younger brother. "We are safe now," she said. "Humans always protect their own. We will never be alone again." Ethan watched from a distance, quietly observing the lives he had helped protect. He felt pride but also humility. The humans he fought for were resilient, strong, and determined. They had survived threats, endured losses, and now stood united. Humanity had shown the galaxy a new truth. Patience had limits, and compassion was never weakness. As the fleet returned home, Ethan reflected on the journey. The Varlins had crossed a line, and humanity had responded. Every battle, every rescue, every victory had reinforced the lesson. Humans do not forgive attacks on their own. They fight for each other with courage, intelligence, and determination. They are patient but relentless when provoked. The galaxy would remember this. Other species would see humans differently now. They would respect them, fear them, and understand that humanity's red line was absolute. Those who tried to harm humans would learn that the cost was too high to pay. Ethan stood on the bridge, looking out at the stars. He thought of Lily Hart, Mia Sanders, Henry Lewis, Clara Jenkins, and all those who had been saved or had fought alongside him. Every life mattered. Every victory mattered. Humanity had proven that it could protect its own, fight with strategy, and win even when underestimated. Jason Cole approached him. "Sir, messages are coming in from colonies and allies. They all say the same thing. Humans are unstoppable when protecting their own. The galaxy will never forget this." Ethan nodded. "Good, let them remember. Let the galaxy know that humans fight with heart, intelligence, and courage. That is what makes us strong. That is what makes us human." Admiral Bennett placed a hand on his shoulder. "You and your fleet have changed the course of history, Ethan. Humanity has drawn its line and it will never be crossed again." Ethan smiled faintly. "We only did what we had to do. We fight for our own. That is all that matters." As the fleet entered human space, celebrations began in every colony. Humans cheered, not just for victories in battle, but for the lives saved and the message sent across the galaxy. Humanity had proven that it was patient, compassionate, and strong. They fought for what mattered and they never backed down. Mia Sanders watched from her home. "Humans will always protect each other," she said softly. "No one will ever hurt us without consequences." Ethan Walker looked at the same stars she was watching. He thought about the battles, the sacrifices, and the victories. Humanity had endured, had fought, and had won. They had drawn their red line and defended it with courage, intelligence, and heart. The galaxy had learned a new truth. Humans are not to be underestimated. Humans fight for their own, and when provoked, they are relentless. Their patience has limits, their compassion has strength, and their courage has no bounds. Humanity had survived the threat, saved its people, and changed the galaxy forever. And the message was clear: cross the red line and you will face the full force of human resolve. The stars stretched endlessly before them, bright and full of promise. Humanity had proven itself. The Varlins had learned their lesson. And the galaxy now knew, without doubt, that humans are unstoppable when protecting their own.